How much are you paying per month for this two bedroom, two bath place?
We're paying 600 euros.
600 euros a month for a
Yes.
two bedroom, two bath.
Two bedroom, two balconies. I mean, oh, and it was just finished renovated
That's crazy. So what you have, what would that be worth back home? What would you pay
in
per
Santa
month?
Cruz.
Yeah.
This would be probably $5,000 in Santa Cruz.
So and that's what blows people away. So you got this two bedroom, two bath, two balconies. Everything's brand new. You're paying 600 euros, and you know it would be about 5,000 in Santa Cruz. It's
Easily.
like, well,
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
amazing. Hi, can Ernest and I ask you a favor? If you find our content helpful, please hit that subscribe and like button. It truly helps us grow and it makes Ernest happy. All right. So today we are heading over to the beautiful country in one of the hottest destinations in Europe right now, Albania, with my new friend Kevin. Kevin, how you doing?
Doing well, Ray. How about you?
Hey man, it's a pleasure meeting you. Thanks so much for taking time to be on the podcast. Um, Always
Absolutely.
interested in learning more about Albania because it really has become the destination to move to in Europe in
Mhm.
2026. So
Yeah, it's really spiked up too recently, it seems like.
yeah, I've had people reach out and said, we moved and thanks to you, or and I'm like, going, oh wow.
Yeah.
So they've
Yeah,
seen the
I
jet.
run into people on the street that say that to me.
Yeah, oh yeah, because you're specialist. You're a specialist there.
Yeah,
So they
we delve down into the Shkoder niche.
right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Kevin, let's start out. You and your wife, Wendy, moved to Albania. Let's get a little bit of backstory about you, where you're from, and why you left. You're from
Okay.
America, so let's just start off from
Right.
who you are, where you're from, and why you left America.
Okay. We moved here from California. Wendy was born and raised in Southern California. I grew up in northern, well, Central Coast, Santa Cruz, and that's where we met. And we met back in 2014, I guess. And I mean, the reason that we left is it's a lot of layers. Santa Cruz has for 3 years running been named the least affordable housing market in the country. And it's not the most expensive necessarily, right? Like
Yeah,
San
yeah,
Francisco, you might pay more to buy a property or to rent, but if you live in Santa Cruz, you can't necessarily afford, or if you work in Santa Cruz, rather, you can't really afford to live there.
yeah,
And so teachers can't live there, firefighters can't live there, and so even doctors are starting to leave because the cost of living is so crazy.
yeah.
And and it's not just that it's like this perfect storm in Santa Cruz. You've got um, just the fact that it's a popular coastal seaside town that people want to live in. It's beautiful. You're 20 minutes from the beach to the redwoods, right? But add into that, there's a university there that's very popular, and they keep raising enrollment and not building any new housing for the students. And then this just proliferation of Airbnbs, just like not short-term rentals, specifically the company Airbnb, just spreading throughout. They're banned now in Santa Cruz finally. But um, and then you've got probably the biggest contributor to this local just explosion in prices is these newly minted tech millionaires from Silicon Valley coming over, paying 4 times what a house is worth just so they can have a place to change into their wetsuit when they want to go surfing,
Yeah.
which just makes all the property values in that neighborhood just skyrocket. And now you've got, empty nesters that can't afford their property taxes,
Yeah.
and for me, the only people I know, maybe not the only ones, the main people that I know that are my age that I grew up with that own homes or have property in Santa Cruz inherited it,
Sure.
you know.
Yeah.
So fortunately, my parents are still alive, so that wasn't an option for me. Um, And it was just getting to the point, like I said before we started recording, I lost my job at the beginning of last year. We had already planned on moving at that point, but I just fast tracked it. So we were going to come in October of 25. We ended up coming we got here on April 1st. So 10-month prep time went to 10 weeks. And it was simply because we knew that finding another job that paid enough to be able to stay at my age just wasn't happening. And let's go somewhere else where this little chunk of money that we have saved can give us a little runway to try and start something of our own. And so that's what we're doing here.
Okay. So it sounds like you feel like you've been pushed out of America. Feeling confused about where to move abroad, which countries you even qualify for, or what your real options are? You're not alone. This is where most people get stuck and where they often waste a lot of time and money going in the wrong direction. That's why we offer two simple ways to help, depending on what you need. First is the Ideal Destination Finder. It's a personalized assessment that looks at your lifestyle, priorities, and budget, and then shows you your top 3 countries. It's designed to help you narrow things down, avoid endless research, and reduce the risk of choosing the wrong place. And if you feel like you need more personalized help, you can also book a one-on-one consultation with me. I'll walk you through your situation, clarify which countries make sense for you, which countries you can actually qualify for, and the next steps, so you're not guessing. Both options are easy to find at adventurefreaks.com. Just scroll down and you'll see the consultation with me to the right. Just click it and schedule your consultation. Over here to the left, you'll see the Ideal Destination Finder. Just click it to get started. Links are also in the description below, or you can scan the QR codes on the screen. Now let's get back to the video.
Definitely pushed out of Santa Cruz for sure.
Yeah.
And it's like we love Santa Cruz, we love the US, we love California, but we're a little resentful that we had to, it wasn't optional. It didn't feel like an option.
Yeah.
Now, one thing we hear from a lot of people, you could have gone elsewhere in the States. That's true. This is just the option that we chose.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
we already traveled a lot, so like going outside of this country didn't really feel that alien to us.
Well, I mean, what you're hitting on so many hot topics. I mean, just what you said about like in Santa Cruz, firemen can't work there. Teachers can't, or they can't live there. Teachers can't live there. They're being, you got a lot of hardworking, peak career-oriented people in professions that can't survive in those communities. That's happening all over,
All over the place.
all over
Yeah.
the place in the United States right now, and
Yeah.
people are trying to rethink what they're going to do. Um,
Yeah.
so, all right. So then you decided that you were going to take off. How did you decide on Albania of all the places out there? Of all the choices out there, how did you choose that?
Yeah. Yeah. That took about a year.
Okay.
And that's one of Wendy's biggest talents is the grinding drudgery of like really delving in and doing the research, Like when we travel, she loves doing all of the logistical stuff, the
Yeah.
booking the airlines, booking the
Oh,
lodgings. I can't stand that stuff,
yeah,
right? I
me
get to
either.
do the fun
Me
stuff. I
either.
get to choose, I get to choose which dive shop we go to. I get to choose like the fun stuff that we do. And she doesn't want me to touch all of this stuff I can't stand. So we're a really good team in that way,
Perfect.
right?
It's perfect.
So, yeah, I mean, we looked at everything from Central and South America to Southeast Asia to multiple countries in Europe, mostly though in this area. In Europe, it was mostly came down to either Albania or Georgia.
Okay.
Um, but we considered Panama and Costa Rica, Cambodia, Malaysia. Geez, like we're getting ready to go on a trip to Southeast Asia, the 6 countries, and we considered all 6 of them at one point or another.
Okay.
And to be perfectly frank, the why we landed in Albania is they have a visa exemption program for Americans that you can land here, no extra paperwork, no anything, walk in with your paperwork and stay for a year. And at the time, because we only had that little 10-week window, being able to get somewhere and not have to worry about anything for a whole year was sounded really, really good to us. And so
Hmm.
that's what we've been doing is we've just, we've been here we're leaving on day 357 that we've been
Okay.
here. And you have to leave for 90 days, 90 consecutive days, and then you can come back and start over again. Um,
Hmm.
so Georgia has a similar deal. The only reason we came to Albania instead of Georgia is location. We wanted to be nearer to the Adriatic, a little bit closer drives to some of the places that we wanted to visit.
Yeah.
But we definitely want to check out Georgia as well.
Yeah. Okay. Good point. So Albania is you're bordered with Greece, and what's on
Yeah.
top? Montenegro?
Montenegro's on top,
Yep.
Kosovo, North Macedonia, Greece.
Greece, and then you're not far. You could take a ferry to Italy, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I think about 8 hours, 8 or 9 hours to
Yeah.
get across the Adriatic. Yeah. So it's not that. And the flights, you could get like a Wizz Air flight for like
Yeah.
$50 or something, I think, too.
And you can
So
also
there's,
take the ferry to Corfu, an amazing Greek
yes.
island, which is like
Yeah.
30 minutes away from Sarande.
Right.
So
Exactly.
Albania is
Yeah.
really an awesome place. You're really in the center of a lot of and access to a lot of great areas.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's why it's been occupied so many times over throughout history.
yeah.
It's a really great location. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So okay, so you mentioned you can go there and what enticed you was the visa-free option. For Americans, you can stay there a full year, but then you have to leave for 3 months. So you obviously found an apartment that you're renting. Do you give up your apartment or do you continue to pay for the 3 months that you're leaving and then come back? How does that work?
It's we are choosing to continue paying rent.
Okay.
Not everybody does. Some people look at it as more like a short-term thing, even though you're signing a lease. And when they leave their apartment, and if they come back, they find another one.
Hmm.
We really love this apartment. We love the neighborhood. We're intending to stay, so we don't want to give it up. So just like if we were going on vacation, we're going to continue to pay rent while we're gone.
Okay.
As a matter
Okay.
of fact, we're meeting with our landlords to pay the rent up front
Oh, nice.
tomorrow, so that they're not scared that we're not going to come back or something.
Wow.
But
Yeah. Well,
we have a
happy.
great relationship with them too. I mean, they're the best landlords I've ever had. So,
Okay. And how big is your apartment?
um, it's it's not giant. It's in a video on our YouTube channel.
Okay.
I can't remember how many square feet it is, but it's 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. I'm in the sort of shared living, dining, kitchen room right now. We've got a couple of balconies. We're on the fourth floor. We're kind of in like the most desirable neighborhood in Shkoder. So I mean the funny thing is too, the short-term rental that we had when we got here, we booked for I think 5 or 6 months different places all around town. And we had one that was for the first 2 months, so April and May. And then we were going to be moving to this other side of town. And when we asked the only Americans that we knew here for to put us in touch with a real estate agent, they sent us some listings from his Facebook page, this guy that they had used.
Hmm.
And we kept coming back to this one over and over again. There was like 6 listings, and we just kept coming back to this one. We really liked it. And eventually, Wendy noticed that the railings on the balcony of the listing were exactly the same as the railings on our patio, because we were on the ground floor of the rental that we'd been in for 2 months in this neighborhood that we loved and all of that. And then you look closer, and the outside wall, is the same color with the same stripe on it. And we suddenly realized that apartment was in the same building that we'd been in for a month and a half that we'd fallen in love with and really liked. So we called him immediately. He met us out in the courtyard. We came up, looked at the apartment, and put down a deposit like the next day.
Hmm.
And then we were able to cancel all those other short-term leases and get in here at the beginning of June.
How much are you paying per month for this two-bedroom, two-bath place?
We're paying 600 euros.
600 euros a month
Yeah.
for a two-bedroom, two-bath.
Two bedroom, two balconies. I mean, oh, and it was just finished renovated when we moved in. They had just
Okay.
everything in here is new. Every stick of furniture, every appliance, every fixture. Apartments here tend to be furnished when you rent them. You can find unfurnished ones occasionally, but usually that's a purchase rather than a rent.
Yeah.
So, like pots and pans and cutlery and linens and everything, all of it brand new when we moved in.
Hmm.
And, so everything's still under warranty and all of that kind of stuff, which is nice.
Yeah.
And like I said, our landlords are great. They come by every month. And while Wendy and the wife, it's a couple, married couple, um, while Wendy and Feeney go over the bills, the rent and utilities, Victor walks me around the entire apartment going, is this okay? Is this okay? Is this okay? Making sure like he doesn't want any little deferred maintenance thing to get out of hand. He wants to know about it right away.
Yeah.
And I don't know anybody, I've never had a landlord like that before.
No.
You know, so that's a big bonus too. We were hoping maybe we might be able to sublet while we were gone or something like that, because some people have done that too. We did have one person who I think they probably would have let stay here, but she has two cats and they don't want any cats in
Okay.
here.
Yeah.
So yeah, we decided let's hang on to it. That way we know it'll be here when we get back. We can make any big decisions later. But with the drop of the dollar that's been going on ever since we've been here, rents are going up. And now the euro also, the exchange rate for the lek and the euro is going. So we found out that they're going to be raising our rent for 2020 for the rest of 2026 after we get back.
Okay.
So it's going to be another 50 euros. And so we expect that when we get back, rents across the board are probably going to be going up a little bit.
Okay. All right. So it's going up to 650 euros.
Yeah.
So what
Now
would
we
that?
also, it's worth mentioning, we're towards the upper level of cost for an apartment this size.
Hmm.
You can get apartments this size. They won't have all the brand new bells and whistles and stuff, but
Yeah.
you can all day long find an apartment this size with similar amenities for 450, 500 euros in Shkoder right now.
That's crazy. So what you have, what would that be worth back home? What would you pay
In
per
Santa
month?
Cruz,
Yeah.
this would be probably $5,000 in Santa Cruz.
So it'd be so, and that's what blows people away. So you got
Yeah.
this two-bedroom, two-bath, two balconies. Everything's brand new. You're paying 600 euros, and you know it would be about 5,000 in Santa Cruz. It's
Easily.
like, well,
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
amazing. Okay,
Yeah.
now we didn't talk about this. You mentioned it. I heard you say it, but there are a lot of really cool places to live in Albania.
Absolutely.
There's
Yeah.
Tirana, which is the capital. You got
Capital. Yep.
Vlorë, which is right on the coast, blowing up.
Yep.
Sarande, awesome. But you didn't
Sure.
pick those places. Tell
No.
everybody what you picked and
We
why.
didn't even we didn't even visit those places.
Wow.
We came to Shkodër, which is in the north of Albania. It's almost all the way to Montenegro, right at the foot of the Albanian Alps. Got the second largest lake in southern Europe down here, and we're 40 minutes from the Adriatic. So for us, it's a little lower, slower, chiller. There's a lot of retired Italians live here. A
Yeah.
lot of retired Germans live here. And I mean, the funny thing is, we watched a couple of videos. We watched a lot of videos on Albania in general, and all of them made us, kind of perked up our ears, right? But like, grew up in a beach town. I know what beach towns are like. I don't know if I really wanted to live in a beach town anymore. Um, and the capital city, a little loud, a little busy, a little chaotic. I don't know. I could probably do it. These are sort of the thoughts we were having. And then we saw a thing about Shkoder, and somebody said, retired couples live in Shkoder. And we were like, that sounds pretty good. And and then when I saw what the place actually looks like and sort of the vibe of the place and stuff, I was like, yep, that's where I want to go. Like once I saw Shkoder, I didn't have any doubts. That being said, as I alluded to earlier, Wendy and I are very kind of like globetrottery kind of, we're wanderlusty kind of people, you know. So
Yeah.
the idea of, you know, if we got here and it turned out that there was just some deal breaker thing that we just couldn't stand it, we would just find somewhere else.
Hmm.
It's not like we would cut bait and go home, you
Yeah.
know, which is a thing that seems fairly common among the other expats that we've met is you've got to have sort of that willingness to think on your feet and be willing to improvise, and not be, you know, if you leave and you try and bring America with you, you're
Yeah.
going to be disappointed.
Sure.
You know, the key, the idea, at least our philosophy, is to try and make the smallest wave and the smallest footprint and the smallest impact when you get here.
Hmm.
Have the only impact you have be to a positive boost to the economy, hopefully, and
Yeah.
everything else, you know, everything else just be, um, just try and merge.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Great info. Kevin, so when you guys got the Shkoder, you kind of moved around a bit until you landed this apartment. How did you, were you just Airbnb-ing it initially? And
Yeah, we used booking.com, but yeah, we were,
okay.
and we, like I said, we had, I think, 5 or 6 different places reserved. We only ended up using the one that we had for 2 months.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, and that's another thing. We try and book anything we do as far out as possible.
Hmm.
And that was another thing, another reason that we were happy to be able to get in here in June is that's the beginning of the high season, right? Like mid-April into June is when this place starts jumping.
Yeah. Okay.
Because it is a tourist hub.
Yeah.
And so obviously short-term rentals triple when
Yeah.
you get into the summertime.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we even went, I think the one that we were in jumped by like 250 euros just from April to May.
Okay.
And then going into June, it would have been, that's why we weren't going to stay in it for the third month. We were going
Hmm.
to go to a place a little bit further out from the city center where the prices are a little lower.
Hmm.
Um, and because the prices in the summertime are so much higher.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's also why landlords here tend to require a 12-month lease. Is there was a, you know, people tried to jack the system and they would come in and say that they wanted a 1 year lease. They would get here at the beginning of summer and they would stay for 3 months and leave.
Sure.
And now these people are out, that, you know, now they need to find a new tenant when they thought they had somebody for a year. So now it's, you know, they're like, it's really for us compared to the way we're all used to it, right? It's, you know, you get your credit check and your background check and all of that, and you have to apply, and they charge you a fee just to
Yeah.
apply to rent a place. And then you have to pay first, last, and a security deposit. You have to give proof of renter's insurance and all of that kind of stuff. Here, you give them 2 months rent, and then you give them a deposit that is basically saying, you know, it's one of those things where if when you leave, it's what you would call a cleaning deposit back home, but that's not what they call it.
Hmm.
It's like if when you leave, there's something that isn't normal wear and tear, they're going to take that out, the whatever it costs to fix that out of your deposit and give it back. But the main reason they're doing it is so that they can get at least 3 months out of somebody, because that's what people were doing, is just staying for 3 months and leaving.
Okay.
And um, and so like these are the sorts of things that we try to constantly ring the bell on of, don't make it hard on the locals, don't make it hard on the people who are coming after you. You know, have the smallest impact as you can. It's like the people that come here and buy property and then rent it out at above market rates. That's just making it harder and making them look at foreigners in a negative light, you know?
Yeah. Are you seeing much of that there in Shkoder? Are you seeing people from outside coming in, buying, renovating, and Airbnb those properties? Because that's happened all over
Right.
the world, and
All over the
that's why
world. I mean,
that's why there's push.
Portugal, Spain,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah. So that's why there's a
Yeah.
lot of pushback in some of these places. But are you seeing
Right.
some of that activity in Albania?
We have in Albania, yes, we haven't seen any evidence of it yet in Shkodër, but
Okay.
and we and at least some of the other expats that we know are sort of trying to be advocates and trying to be ambassadors to let people know that that's not cool. We're
Yeah.
not going to be down for that. It's definitely happening in Tirana for sure. That's already happening there. There's like 3,000 Airbnbs in Tirana
Do
already.
you know where the people are coming from that are doing it? Are they developers that are actually just sweeping up stuff, or are they just individuals that are going, oh, they're in real estate and they're buying two or three properties, and who are
Yeah,
they?
I think just like back home, it's a combination of both. I think there's
Combination. Okay.
investors. Yeah, I think there's investors, and then I think there's people that move here, they've got their retirement nut, and they come here and they either buy or rent two properties side by side, and they rent the other one out for a
Hmm.
profit, you
Gotcha.
know. And I've got nothing against somebody, you know, making some money, but when, it's like I said, we have a bad taste in our mouth because of what happened in Santa Cruz.
Yes.
But, but there's this tendency, I don't know why, but there's this tendency for people to just charge way more than they need to. And that's when it starts because then it spreads. It's
Yes.
like, oh, if they can charge that much, then I can charge that much, and it just keeps moving outward from there.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, people are homeless,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
just unnecessary. There's no housing shortage here. Just um, leave this place alone.
Yeah, I've heard people that I've interviewed have said this, and they're concerned about it too, that there's like people that are interested. So you viewers that are interested in moving to Albania, they get into like a Facebook group and an expat group, and they post, "Hey, we're looking for one bedroom and we can pay this amount." And
Yeah.
it happens to be maybe twice the amount that what the going rate is. And
Yeah.
any landlord's going to go, hey, put down a
Yeah. And
deposit for that a month and we'll do it. And so it jacks
exactly.
up the prices rather than doing the
And if you don't
research.
think they're not hanging out and watching those forums, you got another thing coming. They are
Yeah.
absolutely watching. Yeah.
So you have to be a savvy expat when you're exploring these areas of the world and make sure that if you're going to do that, that you're throwing out a rate of what the going rate is for the apartments that,
Yeah. Yeah.
don't throw out something that's even slightly more. Say, this is what we can afford, this is what we have, anything available.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. And it's one thing about Albania in general is there's a lot of real estate agents here. There's a lot of them. Now they don't have the MLS like we do back home,
yeah.
so they can't like as easily share one another's listings. I know that there's at least a core group here in Shkoder that do work together in that way. They sort of know what each other's inventory is. But most of them have at least a web page or a Facebook or something like that that has their recent listings on it. That would be my advice to people, at least to get an idea of what the going rate is. You'll see pictures, you'll see what the furnishings are like, because in a place that's got brand new furnishings like our house, that's going to sort of look a certain way and it's going to
Yeah.
run a certain amount. And then a place where, it's got a little bit more dated furniture, like, the older wooden style sort of beds and armoires and stuff. Because that's an interesting thing. They don't seem to use dressers
Hmm.
in Albania, at least in Shkodër. It's all freestanding like wardrobes and closets and stuff,
Yeah.
which has been interesting for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that way you can get an idea, but it's also honestly, even here in Shkodër, it's so hard. We get a lot of people that ask us on our channel, like, what neighborhood do you recommend? And things like that. And it's nearly impossible to say because first of all, I don't know what you're looking for,
Yes.
right? But even more, you can look at an old concrete block communist era building that looks like nothing and go inside and it's palatial, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And so it might have everything that you want, but the outside just isn't pretty, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
And it might be in the best location for you. It might be a walk to the beach, a walk to the bus stop, whatever. So that's another thing is you got to get out and put in the miles and walk around and get to know the place. And there's no unsafe neighborhoods here. There's no bad neighborhoods. There's
Yeah.
there's neighborhoods that are a little bit more run down and a little bit more modern, but the whole town is very safe and the people are super friendly and nice and um, we want to keep it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Great information. Getting back to the deposit, just for
Mhm.
clarification. So you
Yeah.
you said you put down two months of rent and then 1 month of deposit. So that would be about 1,800 because you're paying 600 euros per month.
Correct.
Okay, so you had to put $1,800 upfront down with this landlord. Now, when you move
Mhm.
out, what are you guaranteed to get back?
I believe that we will get back whatever they don't need out of that deposit, whatever
Well,
they don't need to for any repairs or anything.
you're putting 2 months of rent down. How do you get,
Right.
if you,
The second one is the last month.
I see. Gotcha.
Mm.
Okay. All right. Okay, so that makes
And
sense.
then there's also just to be, and I don't know if this is Albania wide. I think it's pretty standard. Um, we also both sides of the deal, the landlord and the tenant, pay one half of a month's rent to the real estate agent.
Okay.
So we each gave him 300 euros for facilitating the deal.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. How do you pay your landlord every month? Rent.
We pay the rent in euros in cash,
You do
and we
cash.
pay, yes, in euros, not
Okay.
lek. And then we pay the utilities in lek, in
Okay.
cash.
Wow. Okay, so
And
nobody's using an app so you can transfer to your landlord. There's no Venmo over there.
some people might be, not that I'm aware of, everybody I'm aware of does it similar. We're a little bit fortunate in that our landlords own another unit in this building that is set aside for their grown children who live they have a daughter that lives in France, I believe, and a son that lives in Italy, or maybe it's switched around. But
Okay.
their kids live in France and Italy. And so that's a place that they can use whenever they're in town. And then they also have their place, the landlords that's sort of a few blocks from here. And they have to pay the utilities on those other two apartments. So they
Hmm.
just pay ours because you have to go in person and pay at the counter.
Okay.
They give you it's the little book like we used to have back in the like 60s and 70s where you actually fill it out on a little and they stamp it and stuff.
Yeah.
And um, so they just pay ours when they pay theirs, and then we reimburse them when we pay our rent. So
Okay.
we get saved that one little extra errand of having to go pay the water and the power.
Okay. Okay.
But that's just a deal that we have.
Yeah. Okay. And so so what you actually go to an ATM to withdraw money then to pay him?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a limit that you can take out. So you probably have to make a couple withdrawals before you have the 600 euros to pay him, correct?
Yeah, I think we can take out more than that in euros from our Schwab accounts.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
So like, but for the rent that we're paying for while we're gone, yeah, that was multiple trips.
Yeah. Okay. And did
Yeah,
you open up a bank account in Albania as well?
we haven't yet.
Okay.
It's one of those things. It's funny. If you're not a resident, you can't, but if you want to become a resident, you have to.
Hmm.
So like, since we haven't gone for residency yet, we can't open a bank account here.
Yeah.
But in order to get residency, we would have to. So it's like part of the process of the residency application is, and I can't remember what the amount is, but by American standards, it's not very much money
Okay.
to open the account.
All right, great info. Before we just break down some of the costs of living, I'm curious to know. It sounds almost like too good to be true for Albania. It's one of those
Yeah.
places you can fly in. You don't need a proof of income or a pension to qualify to live there. You can live visa
Mhm.
free for a year. Have there been any surprises?
Not for us. No.
Okay.
Um, I mean, we hear a lot of feedback, mostly from Albanians, honestly, that are like, "You're Americans, nobody's going to do anything to you. We love Americans." But I'm not going to encourage anybody to go beyond what the law says, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, it's already so generous. It's like kind of pushing your luck to try and take more, you know?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, I mean, we haven't had we haven't run across anything like that so far.
Okay.
Now, I mean, maybe we're lucky. I don't know. But
Yeah.
there's in the time that we've been here, there's been a pretty sizable influx of Americans,
Yeah.
and I haven't heard any negative stories from any of them so far.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, so now, Kevin, let's just talk a little bit about some of these costs for
Okay.
people. Let's start out with utilities. You mentioned utilities. How
Mhm.
often do you pay utilities there, and what do you think you're paying per month?
We pay monthly.
Okay.
We have three essential utilities. We've got the water bill, the electric bill, and the internet. Generally speaking, the electric bill has been well below $50 a month every
Okay.
month. And water is less than 10 usually.
Okay.
I think that we got a weird bill this time that was like $16, and we were like, "Hey, what? That's got to be wrong. Is there a leak somewhere?"
Yeah.
So it is kind of funny how quickly you sort of start to adjust to, like you look at a price on a menu after you've been here for 10 months and you're like, "That's shocking." Whereas, a year ago it was like,
You're
I'm gonna
like,
eat every meal at a restaurant.
I know. Yeah, no, you've become Albanian, man.
Yeah.
You be
Yeah.
you become how much you guys pay for Wi-Fi per month?
We pay $15 flat, or
Fif
15 euros. 15
15.
euros. Yeah.
Wow,
And
that
and that one we got on our own. That wasn't that's not part of the deal with the rest with the apartment. But the office is 3 blocks away. We walk down there. It's one of my favorite stories. This is like standard experience for us. We walked down there, we went in, we explained what we needed. It was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. They close at 5, I think. And they had like three different plans, I think. But if you signed up for a year, then it was this $15, 15 euros a month thing that includes the installation and the router for the
hmm
Wi-Fi.
Okay.
I was paying, I think, $75 a month back home or something like that. And when we were signing the contract, the girl behind the counter was like, "I'm really sorry, we can't get anybody out there today. Would tomorrow morning be okay?"
hmm
Not, "We'll be there in 3 weeks between 8 and 12."
Yeah.
You know, it was, and we are like, "Yeah, what time?" They're like, 8 a.m. Is 8 a.m. okay? 7:55, the guy rings me on WhatsApp. He's waiting downstairs. There's two of them, 30 minutes, bing, bang, boom. They got it done and left. It's the fastest internet I've ever had in my life.
Wow. Okay, so then did you get a cell plan there? Did you or like a eSIM?
We have eSIMs. Yeah, what we're for cell, we're using Google Fi.
Okay.
That's what we've been doing so far. But we're usually on Wi-Fi, whether we're at home or at a cafe or whatever.
Yeah.
But if I'm out walking around or if we have a rental car and I need to navigate with Waze or something like that, then I switch over to my Albania eSIM
Yeah.
and I can use that for WhatsApp or for the map or whatever. And
Yeah.
that's like $8 a month for 3 gigs is what
Okay.
we're paying right now.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Great information. All right. How is the food out there?
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's really good. Yeah. Um, it's well, it's just like any other sort of tourist spot, right? There's definitely places that the first time you go in, especially if it's the high season, they see you, they hear your accent. I think sometimes they go give them the cold fries. They're not coming back. They're not going to complain, right? But or if they have a bad taste in their mouth from the last American tourist that was in there.
Yeah.
But especially like we were so lucky. We went to this one place. It's like famous in town. The first time we went there, we really weren't that impressed. We loved the goulash, but we got this sort of combo plate, and it was just kind of like, nah, I don't know about this. And for the next 2 or 3 months, everybody that we were running into was like, have you been to Fisi yet? Have you been to Fisi yet? And we're like, yeah, we weren't. And they're like, God, it's our favorite place. So we went back. Turns out that first visit was a complete one-off.
Yeah.
It's one of the best restaurants in town. And it's traditional Albanian. They've got some Kosovo and things and stuff like that too, but it's mostly traditional stuff. Um, and you've got like the Albanian version of street food. You can get these kebab sandwiches, which is just like kebabs are basically meatballs, but they're cylindrical instead of
Hmm.
spherical. And there's these guys on the corner with a grill, and you get a sandwich, and you tell them, I want one sandwich and then however many kebabs you want in the roll, and whether you want cheese or not. And man, those things are dangerous. They're so good. It's like, it's like going to the taco truck back home. It's like um, and but then because of the Italian influence here, the Italian food is just unbelievably good.
Yeah.
There's multiple Italian restaurants that we just sort of try and do the circuit because we don't want to give one place all of our attention.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pizza here is excellent. And I had heard people say this about Europe before I came here. This is outside of a very brief stint in Portugal and Spain last year. This is my first time in Europe. And I'd heard people say, you go to Europe and you eat all this food and it doesn't hit you the same way as it does in the States. The dough, the bread and the pizza and stuff like that doesn't make you feel like you've got a boat anchor in your stomach.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and it's really, I mean, you can tell while you're eating it. You're eating a piece of pizza and you're like, this is the lightest crust I've ever had, but it's still pizza crust.
Yeah.
It's just not I don't know. It's not so dense. It's hard to explain, but
Hmm.
and the cheese is fresh, and the sauce has
Yes.
been made there,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like, and it's $5
Oh,
for a
I know.
pizza this big. I
I know.
mean,
I know.
how do you not eat pizza every day?
Yeah.
Um, and you can go out for dinner. I know this is going to be one of your questions. I'll just give it to you now. You can go out to dinner here, two people, and I'm talking like three courses, like soup, salad, appetizer, entree, dessert, and drinks, wine, beer, cocktails, whatever, for $80, two people.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I'm talking like a big giant tomahawk steak, you
Sure.
know, or or sushi. There is sushi here. There's really good sushi here. Fresh fish. There's fish markets too. It's not just, there's a butcher on every block. There's a baker on every block. Uh, and so it's like it's not just that you can get good quality fresh food at the restaurants. You can go buy good quality fresh food and cook it at home too
Yeah. Yeah.
for a fraction of what you would pay back home, you
Yeah.
know,
I mean, you're talking like you're talking top-notch dinner for two. You're spending $40 a piece for three
with drinks,
with drinks, with
with drinks.
wine
Yeah. Yeah.
for
Good wine.
$40. What would that run you in Santa Cruz?
Oh, I mean, well above $100, we didn't go out to eat.
Yeah.
Wendy and I
Yeah.
never went out. We all of our money that we normally would have used in any kind of entertainment sort of way when we still lived back home, we
Yeah.
set aside for traveling. we try honestly not to make too big a deal out of how much less expensive things are. It's
Hmm.
more about, like, in our mindset, it's more about our buying power is more
Yeah.
here. Our
Hmm.
money goes further here. We
Yeah.
can do more here and have a little bit more breathing room.
Yeah.
And that's what was so important to us.
Hmm.
There, of course, a lot of expats is sort of the standard stereotypical expat, and it's a cliche for a reason, right? Is, newly retired and looking to make their retirement money spread, stretch as far as they can. But
Hmm.
they're not in, they've got the money. They're financially secure. They just want it to last, right?
Hmm.
Um, we're in a little bit different category. We're trying to build something from nothing,
Yeah.
basically.
You said, you can get an amazing meal for $40 a head. But if you
Yeah.
go to a regular typical restaurant around there, what are you going to pay?
Um, like there's a great traditional, yeah, I can give you a couple of examples. Like avocado toast became this big thing for some reason in the last 10 years back home, right? I mean, when I was growing up, that was what you did when you were running late. You grabbed an avocado off the tree in the backyard and smushed them on a piece of bread and ate it on your way to the bus
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah.
And now it's this thing that people charge 20 some dollars for it. It's got a balsamic glaze on it and all this other stuff. And it's like, what? Are you going to do it with peanut butter toast now too? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But there's a great little coffee shop here. It's sort of where whenever people want to meet us, like, hey, I'm going to be in town passing through, can we meet for coffee? We're like, yeah, let's meet at Stolia. It's our favorite spot. And they have an avocado toast there that's two pieces of toast with avocado, tomato, salami, sesame seeds, and an egg. And it's like $3.
Okay.
And
Nice.
it's a huge, huge coffee culture here. I don't know if everybody knows that, but very similar to sort of the Italian coffee culture, I think. And so, there's bar cafes on, multiple. I don't know how they stay in business. There's so many of them, but so everybody's out every morning with their espresso or their cappuccino. Interestingly, it seems like this is mostly the older generation, but they also start the day with a shot of Rocky, which is
Hmm.
like the local distilled spirit.
Okay.
So it's like coffee and a shot. That's how they start their day.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting. Rocky, is
yeah.
that like Uzo?
It's more like a brandy.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, same sort of concept. It's the regional, it's the Balkan sort of distilled
Hmm.
thing. And it's one of those things like you can get it where it's just like the smoothest, that kind of tastes like a really good tequila or
Yeah.
whiskey. And then there's the rock gut moonshine version.
So, okay, so how much do you guys think you budget per month for eating out? And how much do you think you budget per month for just buying groceries?
That's sort of, I should have had Wendy write this stuff down for me before she left because all of the money, the specific budgeting stuff is hers. But we are on our overall budget is when we got here was we need to be able to do this for $1,000 a month per person.
Okay.
And for the most part, we've been able to do that. There's been months where we had to buy a printer, we had to buy a vacuum. Sometimes you just decide to be a little bit more hedonistic on a particular weekend.
Sure.
But it's definitely doable. And that is in a like living kind that's like not eating every meal at home, not eating porridge and tap water.
Yeah.
It's eating out a couple of times a week, maybe once or twice a month, going out for the actual sort of big deal dinner that we talked about.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's really possible to have a good meal, a healthy meal too, for less than $10 a person. If you're not,
Yeah.
if you're not getting alcohol or anything like that, if you're just going to get, a bottle of sparkling water or something, um, you can, right across from the coffee shop I was just talking about, there's a little traditional restaurant place. You can get a salad, and they've got this traditional bean sort of soup thing. They've got a stew that's very similar to goulash. And you can get two or three of those little plates each and be well under $10 a person.
Yeah.
And you're full. I mean, you're full. It's protein, it's vegetables, um, so it's one of the big things is, we talk about this in a video that we did recently, where one of the phases that doesn't get talked about much. People talk about the honeymoon phase a lot when it comes
Yeah.
to doing stuff like this, right? But there's what we refer to as the intimidation phase, right? When you first get to a place, and like even us, we're like fairly seasoned travelers. We're used to being in places where we don't speak the language, and sort of just sucking it up and getting out there. But still there's this, yeah, but these people are going to see me every day. Now I live here. I got to
Yeah.
make a good impression, And so, I'm a little nervous that maybe that might be a locals only restaurant. Maybe I shouldn't go in there. Or maybe that cafe is only for, and we anyway, I don't speak for everybody, but we just overthought so many things. And then it's like you actually walk in and they're like, super happy to see you, and like come in and dust off the seat, and here's a menu. What can we do for you? And uh, and in our experience also, if you learn a couple of words in Albanian, especially key secret here in the north, if you learn a few things in Geg, then it's such a surprise to them that they can't help but laugh and be just taken completely aback. And you just made their day,
Yeah. Yeah.
like um, I can't tell you how many times that's happened, because Albanians are very kind of stern looking,
Yeah.
as a rule. They're kind of stoic and stern. And, I even was talking to a young guy, he's like 20, and he's like, yeah, I don't know what it is. We all have RBF. I don't know why. Um, and, but the moment you crack that veneer, they're the friendliest, nicest, funniest, like most ingratiating people you could want to meet.
Yeah. Yeah.
They mind their own business. They mind their own space.
Hmm.
That's what it's not about, when we first got here, I was just, because, we got that Ted Lasso thing in America. It's like, hey, how you doing? How you doing,
Yeah.
everybody? And we
Yeah.
just say hi to everybody. And people in other countries are like, I don't know you, you know?
Hmm.
And so once I sort of got over that part, because even just like nodding and sort of acknowledging someone as you pass is just ingrained in me.
Sure.
Um, and it was like, God, nobody here likes me. This is difficult.
Yeah.
And then, like we have a neighbor here in the building who's an older guy. And, most people around here get around either on foot or on bicycles, even into their 70s and 80s. And he was bringing in some really heavy bags into his apartment, which is on the ground floor. And he had just gotten out of his bike. And I don't know if he was just sort of achy and sore or what, but his hip, I could tell, was really bothering him. And he was sort of like dragging one bag on the floor so he could lean on the wall so he didn't have to bear this weight on his hip. And, so I just walked around and got his attention and picked up the bags and walked them over to his door, and I was just going to wait for him there. And he's like,
Hmm.
of course, no, no, just leave him there. That's fine. That's fine. This man had never acknowledged my existence until after that day.
Hmm.
Now, I mean, just like, and, Wendy and I have adopted some of the local street cats around here. We trapped them when we were down on the ground floor, and we have friends here that run a cat rescue who neutered them and released them back so they're not just doing this cycle of constant
Yeah.
kittens.
Yeah.
And so, we feed them out in the courtyard, and now he lets us keep the food in the basket of his bike, and he's got a surveillance camera, and he shows us what the cats were doing last night on his surveillance camera. And, it's like the smallest little things just change, just flip things on a dime,
Yeah.
as long as you're there to experience it,
Yeah.
you
It's
know?
it's such great information because it's one of the easiest things to connect. It's one of the easiest things to do to connect with people. And
Mhm.
a lot of times we just don't do it.
Yeah.
We get,
And it's a tendency we've noticed and it makes complete sense. This isn't a dig on anybody, but it's a tendency with expats to just sort of glom together.
yeah,
You've got like in Ecuador, you've got this like enclave of expats that none of them know how to speak Spanish and they
right.
never go out into the village or anything. And it's like
Yeah.
that's one way to do it. I'm not telling anybody how to live
Yeah.
their lives, but
Yeah.
it's it's so much different when you actually sort of feel like you're part of the fiber of the neighborhood,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Um, when you walk by a place and they wave to you on your way by, it's just a different feeling.
Yeah. And
And we were,
that's a big worldwide theme right now. I think that many countries are even addressing, like the people that move to your country, they want to make the people that live there want to make sure that you like the country and you're
yeah,
interested in the people and you're interested in
mhm,
the culture. That's a
right.
big
You're
theme right
not just
now.
there to
You're not
use
there
it
to
out of convenience.
out of
Yeah,
convenience, or it's cheaper to live there, and I want to live in a community and not mix it up with the locals. It's
yeah,
doesn't seem
totally.
like the right reason to even move overseas, but the locals feel that. And
Yeah,
they feel that, and like anybody anywhere, they don't appreciate it. And
yeah,
I think it's being more and more called out
that's
across
good
the
to hear.
globe now.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
hey,
because it's important.
it is important. And I think that
Yeah,
most countries, for the most part, are very welcoming, but they want to make sure that the people that move there like it and appreciate the
yeah,
culture and appreciate the
yeah.
people.
And aren't trying to impose their culture on the new country.
Exactly.
I think that's one of the big things that we see, like in some of the expat forums online and things like that. We haven't experienced it personally face to face with anybody, but you just there's this sense of entitlement that some people have that um, you know, A, maybe they didn't research the place well enough before they got there, but B, yeah, you're not going to be able to get everything. It's not going to be like America. It's not America,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know, and you might have to buy a different brand of potato chips. Get over it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Right.
know, uh,
Okay. And then getting around, Kevin, how do you guys get around? Do you have a vehicle or you just rely on public transportation, bikes?
we walk.
You walk. Okay.
We walk. When we need to go anywhere that we can't walk to, like to go to the airport to pick up visitors that are coming, we rent a car. There's rental cars everywhere, rental car outlets everywhere here. That's one of the things we found is the more you walk around, Wendy's favorite thing to say is get lost on purpose. Walk around. I wonder what's down this alley. I wonder what's down this street, and just walk and go into stores and talk to people, and that's how you find the special little secrets and like there's the big jumbo store, which is kind of like the closest thing I could say is like Kmart back in the day, but it's much smaller than a Kmart. But it's that sort of seasonal stuff and toys and school supplies and household goods and stuff like that. You can get all that stuff there. It's going to be like mass produced stuff.
Yeah.
But then you can go into some of these just sort of back alley little shops that you can't even tell what they are until you walk inside and find like actual real quality cookware and knives and all of that kind of stuff. But you're never going to find it if you
Yeah.
don't look for it,
No, that's a
you know.
tell Wendy that's a fantastic catchphrase
Yeah, we
for
got
your
that it's trademarked.
get
Trademark.
get lost on purpose. That's your catch right there. That's like the hook
Yes,
for your YouTube channel.
absolutely.
And you
There
got to
you
give
go.
Wendy all the credit.
100%. Yeah.
And then healthcare. This is the last thing,
Yeah.
Kevin. Everybody's always concerned about healthcare when you're moving abroad. What do you know about the healthcare there? Do they have a public healthcare system? You got to pay into it, or are you guys just paying out of pocket?
Currently, since we're not residents, we have to pay out of pocket for any medical care. We finally just recently started sort of using the channel as an excuse for me to finally go to the doctor. I went in, we thought I was going in for this big full screening that you can get at the American hospital. And then it turned out we'd been talking to the one in Tirana instead of the one here in Shkoder. So when we got there, they're like, yeah, we don't have the facilities to do all of that, but we can do this, which was basically a full blood workup and urinalysis and stuff.
Okay.
And that was, I want to say that was like $70 or something like that.
Okay.
And so yeah, as a non-resident, it's out of pocket. You can go to the public hospital if you choose. They will treat you. They will just charge you for it. There's the private hospital. There's medical clinics everywhere. So if you want to go to the dermatologist, you just go to the dermatologist.
Wow.
You don't go to your GP and get a referral and talk to your insurance company and all that. You just go to talk to the dermatologist.
Yeah.
Dental work, I've had some dental work done here, which I could never get done because it was prohibitively expensive back home.
Yeah.
And this is a dental tourism hotspot.
Yeah.
Albania in general is, but turns out we learned recently that's a big diaspora thing. They come home during the summer and they all get dental work done while they're here.
Yeah.
So like all of these dental clinics apparently are just booming all summer long.
Interesting.
Because it's amazing to look around and see how many dental clinics there are. It's like the cafe. It's like, how do they all stay in business?
Yeah.
But you can get like one of the conversations we have so often about healthcare with some people is it's so hard for Americans to not to wrap their head around not using insurance, not needing insurance. It's you can actually afford to pay at time of service. You can, it's not crazy expensive.
Yeah.
If you become a resident, then yes, you pay into the national program.
Okay.
And once you do that, you just go to the doctor and it's covered because you've paid, your monthly nut into the national healthcare system. We've heard conflicting numbers, and so I'm not reporting any until we've actually done it.
Okay.
I can say this is what we actually pay, but it's in the low hundreds of dollars. It's not crazy amounts of money. And you can get like catastrophic insurance coverage here if you want. We looked into that for the video we did when I went to the doctor, and the number just dropped out of my head, but it's like 50 euros a year or something like that.
Okay.
And again, we've had the woman in the office told us, and again, there was a little language barrier, and she said it's 50 euros for 500, and then she stopped. And so I assumed she meant 500,000 in coverage for catastrophic. Somebody said that might have been 5,000. And she meant 5,000 instead of 500. Maybe it was 50,000. So
yeah.
Don't really know, but that's a thing we're going to do a deeper dive on when we get back, because we're going to be doing all of those sorts of screenings and things like that when we get back.
Okay.
But the basic thing I think people should know is, yes, you can be seen. Yes, they will treat you. Yes, it's not cost prohibitive. But there is a question on what is sort of the limit of care that's available in Albania as a whole and in little tiny Shkodër specifically.
Kevin, this has been great, very helpful. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. How can people find you if they want to reach out to you? You have a YouTube channel to learn more, that they could exploring Albania. Share that with our viewers.
Okay. Yeah, the YouTube channel is called Secret Destinations with Kevin and Wendy. The handle is at SDWKW. And on that page, you can get a link to our website, email, all of those sorts of things. We encourage people to email us. We encourage people to engage. We have an online course that is basically, we took the system that we used, the structure that we used when we moved abroad, and took out all of our mistakes and made it into a sort of structured 20-step program, from sort of setting your priorities and thinking about what it is that you're really looking for, all the way through booking the one-way ticket. And that's called Pack Up and Bounce, and you can learn about that on our website too. And then we also do consultations right here on Zoom.
I like, geez, you guys are coming up with some great catch for pack up and bounce. You guys gotta go.
Yeah,
We're
and
gonna
the
put
tagline is 20 steps to anywhere but here.
nice. Well, we're gonna put all that in the description below too for
Awesome.
any of the viewers that need that want to reach out to Kevin and Wendy. We'll make it easy for you guys. And Kevin, thanks again, man, for doing this. I truly
No, I
appreciate it. It's
appreciate
been
you
great.
having me. This was a lot of fun.